Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm ZKast from ZK Research, and I'm here at the Theta Lake booth inside the Expo Hall at Enterprise Connect 2025 in Orlando. I'm with Garth Landers from Theta Lake. Garth, how you doing?
Great, Zay. It's good to see you.
Yeah, we meet again at Enterprise Connect.
Very busy show, as always.
Yeah, so for those maybe who don't know who Theta Lake is, I mean, you've been on the show before, but just a quick refresher on who Theta Lake is and what you guys do.
Absolutely, thank you. So Theta Lake is responsible for providing compliance and security for today's modern communications. So that includes all of our partners and friends and investors at leaders like Zoom, RingCentral, Cisco WebEx, Salesforce, as well as many, many more integrations. And what we do is we capture, we help organizations respond to governance events, and we help them detect risk in all of those different communication streams, whether they're textual, audio, voice, visual, video, whiteboards, so forth. And
historically, I know you've served the regulated verticals, but more and more mainstream other companies are being interested in this now, right? Yeah.
Indeed, applications like WorkVivo that we announced yesterday are very popular employee engagement platforms that increasingly all organizations are using in the digital workplace.
Yeah, and so one of the changes you've had of late is you're now go to market as Theta Lake as a platform.
Yes.
Right, and so talk about what exactly that is and how that really changes the way you approach the market.
Great question. So Theta Lake is a very popular, out-of-the-box series of modular applications that address today's modern communication challenges. We announced Theta Lake as a platform recently to elevate Theta Lake from not just an application, but to infrastructure in today's organization. So what that means is we fit seamlessly into whatever stack architecture you've built in your organization. You don't look at Theta Lake as an investment and wonder how it fits into your environment. The answer is it fits seamlessly and allows you to do things not only out of the box, but programmatically through a series of open APIs.
Oh yeah, and so it actually, in some ways, it creates the 1 + 1 = 3. The more you use, the more value you get.
It is a force multiplier, allowing you to do more in terms of surfacing all of the data that's in today's UCC platforms that, let's face it, are really the way people work today and contain a lot of valuable insights about what's happening in the organization as well as outside of the organization.
Yeah, and along with that, you had a number of announcements here. So let's talk about these. The first one is Unified Capture.
Unified Capture is a popular application for all of our content integrations. So with the most recent announcement, we mentioned WorkVivo a little bit ago. Yeah. We also had continued enhanced support for Verizon, and what we do there is really from a compliance standpoint, make sure that your record-keeping operations are accurate, that you're capturing all of the communications like SMS from Verizon, that they are indeed accounted for, both from a upstream perspective where they're generated with Verizon and then downstream where they can be stored in Theta Lake's archive or your storage of choice.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about the Zoom announcement with WorkVivo. You touched on it a little bit, and so workforce engagement has become very popular. What are the challenges that companies may face with that they're maybe not aware of as they're looking at that platform? And then how do you help them with that?
Yeah, I think some of the challenges organizations face is as we start to really, our digital workplace lives sort of bleed into one another. You look at an employee engagement platform, very similar in some respects to enterprise social. If you're a regulated organization, if you're an organization that's generating valuable IP, you've got to understand, some of the requirements and, good behaviors associated with it. It's no different really than even going back now, we're 5 years into the UC explosion. Yeah. Many of us still, are maybe lax about things like sharing our desktop, for example, right? So it's
you see a lot of that. Yeah.
So awareness is a big part of it.
Yeah.
What we do from a application perspective is make sure that you're capturing all of the necessary elements generated in WorkVivo, that if you needed to conduct a search later on from a governance standpoint for an audit or investigation or litigation, you can easily find that. And then, of course, if there's any sort of policy violation in those contents, in the content of the WorkVivo application, you can surface that risk and detect it.
Yeah, and so you talked about Verizon. The other, I thought, interesting announcement was the Microsoft Teams calling capture. And Teams, obviously, the use of that's exploded,
Yes.
right? And as well as Teams calling. And so what do you do there for them?
Yeah, so ThetaLake has very robust support for the Microsoft portfolio as a whole. Everything across M365, of course, Teams calling, Operator Connect, and everything. So we're capturing, with Microsoft, our certified Microsoft Teams recorder, we're capturing all of the visual, video elements as well as the voice calls. Now, with the announcement we made yesterday regarding Microsoft calling, that pertains particularly to call logs. So any of the log events related to a call or a meeting are captured, which allows, compliance personnel, IT, to be able to identify and detect risk without having to listen to hours of, calls.
Yeah. Well, and that really was the old way of doing compliance. I mean,
it really was.
See in movies and stuff, sometimes people just send those to call after call after call. Yeah.
So call logs from Microsoft Calling are another way of just elevating, surfacing that risk and helping them be more productive.
Yeah, and I think your timing on that's good too, because I've, over the last few years, I've seen a really big uptake in Teams calling. So, I mean, and the thing is, Teams calling comes in a bunch of different flavors as well, right? So, yeah.
I think that's a big differentiator for Theta Lake is that we don't see voice as a separate sort of element from UCC. It's an embedded part of every application, whether it's contact centers, whether it's meetings, obviously all of the things that we have available to us via mobile, and a lot of offerings out there don't really do a lot of focus on voice and everything that's related to voice, all of the different things that we can work and generate with during the timing of a call.
Yeah, and the last announcement I saw was around the area of proactive compliance, which is interesting because I've always thought of compliance as more reactive to inquiries and things like that. And how do you make compliance proactive?
Oh, well, that was also part of the announcement yesterday that we announced. We've had a capability in our proactive compliance offering around chat remediation. So we've offered chat remediation for Slack, Cisco WebEx, and Microsoft Teams. And yesterday we announced support for Zoom Team Chat. And proactive compliance in that sense means not necessarily waiting for an item to be archived and detecting risk downstream, which is a very important part of compliance operations, but also being able to remediate conversation content. So, for example, if you were to do something in a Zoom Teams chat that violated a policy, we'd identify that, we'd detect it, but we'd also be able to remove the selected element from the overall meeting and provide some, content in terms of training and awareness, so people know it's a policy violation. It encourages and fosters better behavior, but also you retain the conversation minus those potentially inflammatory elements.
Yeah, and with all these, from a vision perspective, all these AI tools that are popping up, and more automated agents talking to people. How does no one's really talked about the problems that might cause from a compliance perspective, but I'm not sure companies really understand how to set the guardrails in those things, right? So,
Well, we've encountered that quite a bit. I mean, if you look at really popular applications like Zoom, AI Meeting Companion, for example, that's one that we provide, as you mentioned, a good word, guardrails around, in that people want to adopt it, people want to utilize it. Their compliance departments might ask them to turn it off, to not use it. And so by using Theta Lake, they can do both. They can encourage the use of that, but also retain and capture that information to detect risk for necessary compliance. We also have seen a lot of interest in note-taker bots.
Yes.
Who are my virtual proxies sort of attending the meeting on my behalf? Do I let them in? If they're in, can I keep that element as part of the operation from a record standpoint? The answer is yes. With Theta Lake, we do that also. So,
what's scary about that is I attend a lot of analyst briefings, and there's as many of these note-taker bots as there are analysts on the call.
It's really odd, isn't it?
And some of them I've never heard of before. I have no idea where the data is being stored. I have no idea where it's being processed. Sometimes they go through NDA information. I do know some companies that just kick them all out now too, so which isn't the right solution.
Right.
But it is a solution, I suppose. So
we're seeing more and more interest in that, and so organizations are starting to take a more measured approach, and they're letting in ones that they have a policy alignment with, and then others are saying, no, that's not allowed.
Yeah.
Thank you for notifying us about that.
Yeah, no, that's good. So, all right, well, that was a lot of announcements you made here.
Quite a few.
Yeah, and congratulations to launch a platform. So anything else you want to add?
No, we just encourage you to stop by. A couple days left here at Enterprise Connect, booth 810, and look forward to hearing from you. And thank you for the opportunity, Zayas.
All right, well, Garth, always appreciate your time. So on behalf of Garth Landers from Theta Lake, I'm ZKast from ZK Research, and thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button and give us a like, and I'll see you next time on the next episode of ZKast.